Hypothetical situation. Let's say you had a child. You love that child. You cradled that child from birth through childhood into early adolescence. And then that child was brutally murdered. You knew your child was murdered, but the local officials deemed your child's death to be a suicide. How far would you go to prove your child's innocence? My name is Jeff, aka GCurse. Welcome to another edition of Black Site Files from Unsolved Mysteries. Today I'll be covering the case of Don Henry and Kevin Ives. That will be starting right after these commercials from the 1990s.
It's hot, and at Wheel and Deal Tire, it's even hotter with sizzling summer specials. Come in today and you'll see why people around the CSRA are saying thanks, Banks. Get 4 tires for only $75. That's right, $75.
Thanks, Banks.
A 2-wheel alignment for just $19.95.
Thanks, Banks.
Get an oil change for most cars, only $10.99.
Thanks, Banks. I'm Banks, and thanks.
Here is some background to the case we are about to hear. Best friends were walking down a set of train tracks in 1987. A train which was soon going down those same tracks came across the prone bodies of those 2 boys. Now, as I mentioned, the officials originally stated that those boys committed suicide, that they had consumed or inhaled, I guess you could say, a large amount of marijuana, and that it put them into like a marijuana coma, I guess you could say. However, there is always more than what we know. So let's actually get to that right now. So if you are new to this series, basically I go to the Unsolved Mysteries wiki and we hear what it has to say. I have my secretary Jasmine read to us the case involved, and I'll give you my thoughts. So let's get to that right away, shall we? Okay, so so I will start with the initial information. So their real names were Larry Kevin Ives and Donald George Henry. Their nicknames was Kevin and Don, respectively. Location was Alexander, Arkansas. The date was August 23rd, 1987. Now, I will go on record and say that this is one of the cases that really sticks out to me. A lot of cases I remember for nostalgia and everything, like say the Tallman House, awesome ghost case, or Missing Time. That is an awesome case when it comes to UFOs. This case, I don't want to remember it because it was a murder, because that it's sad. You don't want to remember sad stuff like that. It's the atmosphere, it's the ambiance. It's the father constantly walking up and down those train tracks at night to try to figure out what it is exactly that that could have happened to his son. So let's get to that right away, shall we? So I will scroll down here. I will have the computer read here. There we go. Read this, and then I'll give you my thoughts. If it'll read it. Come on.
In the pre-dawn hours of August 23rd, 1987.
Hey, hold on. Sorry about that. I forgot to switch the audio back. Uh-oh. Hold on. Let's see here. Here we go. Okay, let's see if this works any better. Okay, maybe a second while it reloads. Come on. Okay.
Its regular night run to the Up Freight Yard in North Little Rock, Arkansas. The train was over a mile long and was traveling at a speed of 52 miles per hour. So far, the run had been clear sailing as engineer Stephen Schroyer approached the small town of Bryant, Arkansas. Suddenly, while going through the town of Alexander, he saw something in his path. He could not tell what it was. As his train drew closer, he made the horrifying discovery that two boys were lying motionless across the railroad tracks.
This is something that I could put my, as a, like say as a person who's learning to drive, or I already know how to drive, but there's limited times that I go out driving at nighttime and I dread it. Now, I know it's two different modes of transportation, but I would hate the thought of driving, going around a curve, not seeing what is there, going around a curve and running over two bodies. That would kill me, but I can honestly, I feel bad for these train conductors because of the fact that they literally had no chance to get that train to stop, because those trains, they require a long distance to be able to slow down and stop. They cannot stop on a dime. So basically, they could only watch as this tragedy was about to unfold. And I apologize for the first part being muted. I forgot to unmute the computer's voice. Okay, let's continue on.
He placed the train into an emergency stop position and laid down on the horn. However, the two victims were identified as 16-year-old.
Hold on, it sometimes does this. Come on.
He was unable to stop it in time. Within about 3 seconds, he hit the boys. Stephen noted that although 3 seconds does not seem like a long amount of time, it felt like an eternity for him. The weight of the heavy cargo train carried it for a full half-mile. The boys' bodies were terribly mangled. The two victims were identified as 16-year-old Don Henry and 17-year-old Kevin Ives. They were best friends and popular students at Bryant High School, where they would have been seniors. It seemed difficult to believe that they would lay on the tracks without moving a muscle, while a huge freight train was hurtling towards them, blaring its horn. The state medical examiner, Dr. Fahmy Malik, said they had been under the influence of marijuana and ruled the deaths accidental.
Okay, so I'm going to stop it right there real quick here. Let me... they originally determined that the boys smoked, I think they said it was something like between 16 to 20 marijuana joints. And when I was younger and I heard this, I'm like, nah, that doesn't make sense. That does not make sense. Do I think that they could have had marijuana in their body? Yeah. Teenagers are teenagers. They will do stuff even if the parents tell them not to. For me, when I was younger, the whole thing was my mother did not want me to watch the movie Friday the 13th. It was a horribly violent movie. And I understand now as an adult, I can understand why she did not want me to watch those movies. However, you tell your child, no, you're not permitted to do that, they're going to want to do it. Because it's a form of rebelling against authority. It's the idea of being able to see beyond that curtain that the parent has put up to prevent you from seeing. You want to see what is out there, But like I said, I do think that they had marijuana in them, but I don't think it was at the levels of what the officials determined. In the comment section below, what do you think? Do you think that they had like 20 marijuana joints or whatever the amount was, or do you think that it was what the follow-up determined was like between 1 and 2 or 2 and 3 or something like that? What do you think? Okay, come on.
Their parents could not accept that ruling. They began a crusade to find out what really happened and salvage the reputation of their sons. Kevin's father, Larry, could not believe that his son was knocked out on marijuana or into any kind of heavy drugs. He was usually present when Kevin returned home from school, and his mother, Linda, was always home at nights. Neither had they ever seen Kevin spaced out, nor any signs that he was into drugs. By all accounts, Kevin and Don were typical teenage boys who both loved to work on their cars and hunt. Don was a natural comedian, and Kevin was his best audie.
Basically, meant to say audience. There you go. Meant to say audience. Here, let me see if I can enlarge this a little bit. There we go. And then I'll... Okay, so... And this is the one issue I have when it comes to almost every parent of a victim on this series. The one commonality that 99% of all these families has is, oh, he could never do that. I could never see him doing that. He was too good of a boy to do that. Just because you don't see your kid doing stuff, it doesn't mean that they haven't done it. And I understand that they say this because they don't want to. It's a way of not having to acknowledge the fact that ultimately their child was not as perfect as they have their preconceived ideas, if that's the right thing to say. My mom, prior to her passing, she, when I was younger, she liked to think I was a modeled child, and I wasn't. I was not a good child. I was mean. I watched Friday the 13th when she clearly told me not to, and boy, did that shit give me nightmares, when I was younger. But yeah, it's just a little bit annoying when I hear, families on this series basically go, oh, he could never done that. He was such a great boy. He never... I'm not saying that their children did not deserve to die. I'm going to go out and say they did not deserve to die. But your children were not as perfect as you would like to believe. I'm sorry. I'll go to my grave saying that all the time. Although your child, they sound like awesome kids, they're not perfect. No child is ever perfect. They all have another life that you're not aware of, basically. Okay, so let's continue on.
On most weekends, the two double dated. However, on the night of Saturday, August 22nd, 1987, Kevin and Don met a group of friends on the outskirts of Little Rock at a favorite gathering place for the local teenagers. The two left around midnight to go back to Don's house. Kevin waited on the porch while Don went inside to talk to his father, Curtis. Curtis recalls that Don came into his bedroom at around 12:15 a.m. He said that he and Kevin were going to go out hunting. He took Curtis' spotlight and took his own .22 rifle. They talked for about 15 minutes before he yelled.
I said before he left. That's one thing I dislike about this program. It never gets the last word a lot of the time. Here, let's close that. Thank you. This is one of the things that I always kind of, as a person who likes to I follow the law. Granted, the law seems to only benefit those who follows it, and I understand that whole saying. The father, he knew what his kid was, or what his kid and his friend was doing is illegal, because apparently they're doing what is called spotlighting, which you're going to hear pretty quickly. It's illegal in Arkansas, and the father, apparently he didn't have any problem with that. I'm sorry, how could you allow your kid to do something that's illegal? Even though if he doesn't get caught, just because he doesn't get caught doesn't mean it's not illegal. Dude. Hey, Dad. If my son came to me, hey, Dad, can I go spot? No, you're not. That, number one, it's illegal, and number two, if you got caught, there'd be all kinds of hell raised that I'd have to deal with. No, you're not going spotlighting. Okay, let's continue on. Come on.
Foot Kevin and Dawn set off to go spotlighting, a form of night hunting which is illegal in Arkansas. One of them would shine a light in the animal's eyes, transfixing the prey while the other fired. Spotlighting was a fairly widespread activity among the local boys. Kevin and Dawn had avoided being caught. That night, they chose their usual hunting ground, along the railroad tracks that ran behind Dawn's house. By then, it was almost 1 a.m. Curtis was not worried about them going into the woods because he did not think they would get in TRO.
Get in trouble, basically. And that's something I always say, even if it's just me now, since my mom, everybody around where I basically live, all of my family's basically dead, so it's just basically me that's left. I always have a mentality that the minute you think that you're okay, that everything is okay, the minute you think that, that's when trouble can happen. I'm always on a form of alert, and I've been told it's because of the anxiety issues I have. But to me, it's a good piece of advice to heed. Basically, never expect you're never safe. You are never safe. The minute you start letting your guard down, that's when shit hits the fan.
Flee. 3 hours later, Stephen Schroyer's locomotive came speeding down Bryant Hill. When they were about 6 poles away from Kevin and Dawn, his conductor yelled out, "Big O," and he immediately realized that there were bodies on the tracks. To him, it looked like they had been laid out by someone. They were lying exactly across the tracks. Their legs were across the rails, their torsos were between the tracks, and their arms were straight down by their sides. They were partially covered by a light green tarp. Lying parallel to both of them was Dawn's .22 rifle. Neither of them was moving. When Stephen laid down on the diesel horn, he got no reaction from them. The train then went over.
Okay. It said basically the train went over them, and like I said, I could not think of a worse thing that you have to experience if you were like on that train and you actually had to see what was happening. I would not wish that on anyone. Ugh. Okay. Oh crap! Wrong button, Jeff. Wrong button. Sorry, guys. Isn't it Shift Tab? Oh crap! Hold on. Let's close this out. I clicked the wrong thing. My bad. Read aloud. There you go.
Them. What had caused Kevin and Dawn to lie side by side on the railroad tracks? The state medical examiner, Dr. Malik, concluded they had smoked the equivalent of 20 marijuana cigarettes. He determined that they had been in a deep sleep induced by the psychedelic effects of the drug and had never heard the oncoming train. He ruled their deaths an accident. Their parents would not accept Dr. Malik's conclusion. Linda wondered, if they were that stoned, how were they able to lie down in identical positions? That was her immediate reaction to the ruling. Curtis had the train sound checked and found that it was 98 decibels, which is equivalent to the sound of a jackhammer or an air compressor running. He does not believe that anyone could sleep through that kind of noise. He also points out that Dawn's gun was laying on the gravel. He does not believe Dawn would do that because he would not want the wood getting SC.
The wood getting scratched. That's what it said. Now, I will go on record and say that I'm honestly a heavy sleeper. I can actually sleep through some pretty loud stuff, especially right now. As of recording this, it is July 2nd, 2024. We are 2 days away from the 4th of July celebration here in the United States. However, where I live, the rules state that fireworks can be let off starting like the 28th of June. Some of those fireworks are pretty damn loud. A lot of the people like to buy the mortar-based, loud, explosive ones that you can get on the Indian reservations. Some of them are loud to the point, so powerful to the point it actually shakes the apartment a little. And I really do not have a problem sleeping through those. So I think it is. I think it would be possible for somebody to sleep, outside near where a train is coming. I'm not saying that the children that Kevin and Don were asleep. No, they were murdered. I will go on record and say that I think that they were murdered. I do not think they were asleep due to the drugs. I think that they were murdered. What I'm trying to say is I think it's possible for people to sleep through some loud noises.
Hatched. Kevin and Don's families hired a private investigator to try and figure.
Nope.
This case
Oh,
originally
fuck.
aired on the October 12th.
Hey, hold on. Shit.
Terry fatigues witnessed by police.
Okay, sorry about that, guys. Sometimes the what do we call it? The app, the program that I use acts up. Okay, so let's go back here. Let's try it again. We'll do a smaller amount. Let's see here. Let's go down to here. Maybe it's the amount of selected. Let's try this.
Hatched. Kevin and Don's families hired a private investigator to try and figure out what happened to them. However, he repeatedly received resistance from authorities who seemed unwilling to cooperate or change their opinions about.
I said about the case. With that said, honestly, considering back the way that, that law officials, had a rep back decades ago, I wouldn't be shocked that they could have been more aware of the information of what happened to those boys. A common theme or a running idea is that drug dealers could have killed these boys, and could be that maybe some of the police officers during that time could have been part of this network of drug dealers. That's my opinion, though. That is my opinion about the police officers, not the drugs, because that's going to be stated here, but possibly the authorities. Basically, I think some of the members of the authorities could have been in on it, or at least have knowledge of what happened. But what do you guys think? Do you think that the authorities, they could have had information that was not made available to the family? Okay, so let's actually go down to here to see if this works. Come on.
The case. As a result, the families were not able to move forward with their investigation. 5 months after the deaths, Kevin and Don's parents held a press conference. They hoped to force the authorities to reopen the investigation. The plan worked. The day after the conference, the investigation was officially
reopened. Or, hold on. It was officially reopened. And I agree with what the parents did. I totally agree with the parents. They did the right thing. If the victim's family is not going to get the answers that let's see, what's the best way to say it? If they feel that the investigation is either not sufficient or maybe corrupted in some form, then I agree that they need to raise a stink. They need to get so much attention that it literally force the authorities' hand to have to reopen this investigation. I agree with them on that. I agree with them totally. Congratulations, you did what I would have done. I'll be honest, I would have been a little bit more rowdy about it, but they actually did with a lot more tact than I would have. I would have gone to the top of the mountain screaming that the police are fucking over this investigation, but that's just me. Okay, come on.
He opened. Newly appointed prosecutor Richard Garrett had Kevin and Don's bodies exhumed for a second autopsy to be performed by a noted expert. This doctor concluded that together, they had smoked not 20, but between 1 and 3 marijuana cigarettes. Friends who were with them that night confirmed this amount. He also found evidence to indicate that one of them was already dead and one unconscious when the train.
Basically said when the train hit them. Now, I'm kind of curious. It said newly appointed prosecutor. Now, do they mean newly appointed prosecutor in a way of like that they removed the previous prosecutor from this case, or was this like a new prosecutor that was like voted in like during like an election cycle or something? That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So, what do you think? Do you think that they smoked between 1 and 3 or up to 20? In the comment section, leave your thoughts below. Okay, let's see here. So, furthermore, procedures conducted. Okay, hold on. I think we'll start from here.
Hit them. Furthermore, he found evidence that Dr. Malik did not follow
Let's go back here.
our proper procedures when conducting the autopsies. Other medical experts and researchers stated that it was highly unlikely, if not impossible, for a person to pass out from smoking marijuana. It seemed especially unlikely that it would happen to 2 people at the same time. In July 1988, a grand jury reversed Dr. Malik's original finding of accidental death and officially ruled their deaths probable homicides.
Okay, so now I'm not going to get into the whole idea of like the effects of marijuana because I never used marijuana. Although it does kind of make it does kind of make sense that I find it highly kind of improbable that both kids pass out exactly at the same time, that they fell over at exactly the same time on the tracks, that they somehow coincidentally also pulled a tarp over the... No, I don't buy that at all. I think that there is something very, very questionable about that initial investigation. Like I said, possibly some cops could have been possibly getting some sort of kickbacks from this drug operation. I'm not saying that cops are perfect. I will go to my grave and say, hey, I respect cops, but I also understand that not every cop is a good cop. Whereas there are people that say all cops are bad, get rid of all cops. I can actually recognize that there are good cops, but there are also bad cops. You got to weed out those bad cops, though. And I would not put it past even possibly this, let's see here, this Malik guy. I wouldn't be putting it past it that possibly he could have been in on it somehow. To quickly be able to make it 20 marijuana cigarettes, and that's basically it. No, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense at all. I'm glad that the new appointee actually really kind of got into this investigation, and he really did his job. I congratulate him on that. Okay. Let's read aloud this part.
My sides. Garrett then focused on the green tarp. Neither Kevin nor Don owned such a tarp. Who had covered them with it and why? All 4 of the people on the train who were able to observe the scene prior to the accident stated that the bodies were partially covered by the green tarp. Police who searched the scene later denied that Stephen had told them about the tarp. According to Stephen, they questioned the existence of...
They questioned the existence of the tarp. Right there, I would find you have 4 witnesses telling you that they saw at that time a green tarp. Not one witness that could possibly miss saw stuff. Not 2 witnesses that could have possibly misconstrued what they saw. You had 4 fucking people. You would have to think that one of those 4 people could have acted like a safeguard. Like, well, these two I think I saw it, but then I could have saw. I think I saw those tarp, but then you'd at least have 2 other people that could have been like, yeah, there was definitely a tarp there. There was definitely a tarp there. I would have looked into those officers that basically said that there was no tarp. And then I would start investigating those officers also. If need be, I would investigate that entire fucking police department. Why would 4 train operators or conductors or whatever the correct term, 4 officials, I guess, train officials or whatever. Why would they go and say that there was a tarp there and then the rest of the police, oh no, there was no tarp. There was no tarp. I don't buy that. I do not buy that at all. Do you think there was a tarp? I think there was a tarp. What do you guys think?
The tarp. He felt that was like questioning the existence of the bodies on the tracks. He tracks.
Come on.
He was certain that the tarp was there. Garrett also believes that the tarp existed. However, it was never found. The ensuing investigation unearthed an intriguing lead. 1 week before Kevin and Dawn were killed, a man wearing military fatigues had been spotted in the vicinity. His behavior had aroused suspicion. When police officer Danny Allen stopped to question him, the man opened fire. By the time Allen got up from his seat, the man was gone.
Okay, so the man was gone after he opened fire. Now let's go back to the the tarp. The only reason I think that they could have said, "Oh, there was no tarp," I'm wondering if there was some sort of identifiable marks on that tarp. They saw the police officers that claimed that there was no tarp. They could have possibly seen this tarp, and they were like, and they saw the marking, and they're like, we got to get rid of this. We got to get rid of this. Maybe somehow that marking could have had a tie to the killer, and then if they found out who the killer was, it could be tied to those police officers, like a relative or something. And then if that killer / drug dealer was doing something wrong, which, killing and drug dealing, they could have talked to their relative who is in the police department and, hey, like, can you make this disappear? And because the family, the cop could have become a corrupt cop and actually, yeah, I'll make it disappear, don't worry. That could be why that they were wanting to basically deny that there was a tarp there, because it could have led, open up a big can of worms, basically.
N was gone. 5 minutes later, Saline County officers showed up. They searched the area, but were unable to find the man. On the night Kevin and Dawn died, witnesses again reported seeing a man in military fatigues. This time, he was leaving town, heading down a road less than 200 yards from the spot where the bodies were run over. Police have been unable to
locate him. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that the guy in question is most likely the same person that killed those boys. And if they were ever able to apprehend that person, I'm pretty sure that he may have be related to one of the police officers that were part of this investigation. But that's just my theory, though. That's just my theory.
locate him. 6 weeks after the investigation was reopened, Garrett came up with a strangely similar case. In Ogden, Oklahoma, just 200 miles west of Little Rock, 2 young men, Billy Hainline and Dennis Decker, lying together on the railroad tracks, had been run over by a locomotive in 1984. They were lying motionless on the tracks, in a position nearly identical to Kev.
to Kevin and Don's. And I do not believe in coincidences. This could be some form of like a calling card, or just a preferred way to silence people. I do not believe in coincidences. What I think we are looking at here is at least two murders that are tied, and the person that did it to them is that central point, basically.
N and Don's. Garrett believes that Kevin and Don were murdered. He believes the assailants incapacitated one of them and then felt like they had to do something to the other one. To cover their tracks, they laid them on the railroad tracks and covered them up with a tarp. He is not sure why someone would do
that, however. And I kind of do agree, though. Like, why would you, if you're going to just off them, clearly one boy was already killed. The other was unconscious. No matter what, tarp or no tarp, the train conductors are going to see the items on the train tracks. You can't just not notice a body, and even if they didn't see it, they may have not seen the body, the tarp was, then you still have the tarp. Why cover them with tarp? But I can't figure that out. But I still think that tarp. Would be vital into identifying who the killer was.
Hat, however. Prior to working on this case, Garrett never carried a gun. However, since he started working on it, he has carried one. He feels that his life could be in danger. Kevin and Don's parents are determined to continue working on and investigating the case until it is solved. They have spent many hours at the spot where they were killed, wondering how it could have happened. They believe that Kevin and Don walked up on something that they were not supposed to see. They were at the wrong place at.
They were at the wrong place at the wrong time. I wouldn't. Garrett's being cautious. I agree with that. If there are, or probably if there were, because those cops are probably long gone now. If there were corrupt authorities in that police department, what's there to say that they would not try to get rid of Garrett? Garrett was getting close to their operation, possibly. The corrupt police officials, if there were any, they would not easily just want to give up their source of income, because I'm pretty sure that they're getting some sort of kickback. Okay, let's do this, and we'll just go all the way down here.
He wrong time. Suspects. The man wearing military fatigues witnessed by police and others remains a possible suspect, but police have never been able to locate or positively identify him. Police speculated that Kevin and Don's murder may have been related to drug trafficking. Several witnesses who testified before the grand jury were charged with drug trafficking and other offenses. However, no suspects were identified. In June 1988, a local man came forward, claiming that on the night of the murder, he saw two police officers beating two boys senseless in a store parking lot before tossing them into a police car and driving away. The officers later returned to the scene without the boys. It is not known if the boys
If the boys were Kevin and Don. Now, it's been quite a while since I actually covered this case. I did a video version of this on Facebook that I'm going to post in the links in the description below, but it's been so long since I watched that case. I cannot recall if they actually mentioned this portion here. And this, to me, I think this is new because I can't recall the officers at all about assaulting the two teens. But this just goes to prove the point that there could have been some shady police officials, during that time. Okay, so I'm going to read this next portion. Extra notes. This case originally aired on the October 12th, 1988 episode of Unsolved Mysteries. It was updated on the November 30th, 1988 episode. It was later reprofiled in a Dennis Farina hosted series on the August 7th, 2009 and the August 21st, 2009 episodes. It was also known as the Boys on the Tracks case. It was also subject to of a book, The Boys on the Tracks by Mara Levitt. I think when we get done here, I may go we'll do a search and see if we can actually find that book, see if it's on like Amazon or something. Here, let me actually do this. Boys on the Tracks by Mara Levitt. Okay, let's do search. Actually, I'll do that right now. Let's see here. Ooh, this is actually on Amazon. Let's do a quick look. If it'll load. Okay, there it goes. Boys on the Tracks. Let's see here. Wow. They have it on Kindle for $9.99. Here, let me zoom in a little bit. They have it on Kindle for $9.99. Hardcover for $38, and perfect paperback for $29.49. Wow. And the description reads, an examination of two Arkansas murders, which appear to be drug-related, and the surrounding political corruption and that prevented the prosecution of the killers. Ooh, boy. What I'll do is I will also put in the description the link to this book. If any of you guys are curious about it, you can buy it and check it out for yourself. Okay, so let's continue on, shall we? Let's see here. It was published by Bird Call Press in 1999. It was featured in a 2-part episode of the Trail Went Cold podcast. It ranks as one of the most remembered cases of the entire series. I agree. Like I said in the beginning, I tend to always think about this case. There was a lot about this case that really pulled at me, and I don't think it doesn't look like it. They don't mention it in the wiki, but in the video, the father talked about walking up and down those train tracks, and that really kind of just pulled at me, because I am very what's the best way to say it? I'm very. I have a condition called I ruminate, and basically it's a form of obsessive compulsive disorder, and I have to do things over and over and over again. And one of the things is like clockwork. I always have to get up and go and look outside at specific times. It's due to the anxiety and everything. But I can imagine what it's like for the father. He feels that need to walk up and down those train tracks, and I probably do the same thing also. Scott Johnson and Normal Lander were the two other cases involving youths who might have been murdered after observing drug drops. By the sounds of it, it looks like it could have been, it could have been, corrupt officials and everything. Okay, so hold on, let me see here. We got a lot of stuff still going on. I'm going to actually take a quick break. I need to get something to drink because I've been talking for a while. So I'm going to stop recording, and I will be right back with the results. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with this is part 2 of this portion of the show, although it's going to be all merged into one. Oh, fuck it, I'm rambling at this point. So we are at the results portion. Let's see how it went, shall we? So let's go down here.
Results unresolved. Garrett had another autopsy conducted on Kevin and Don. In October 1988, Shortly after the broadcast, the results were released. The expert pathologist, Joe Burton, found an apparent stab wound in Don's back and a wound to Kevin's cheek. He determined that tears in Don's t-shirt fabric indicated that he had been stabbed in the back with a large knife and that Kevin had apparently been struck in the head with a rifle, but possibly Don's. The wound to his cheek matched the shape of the rifle butt. Congestion was also found in their lungs, which indicated that they had been hurt before being hit by the train. As a result, the grand jury changed its ruling from probable homicide to definite homicide.
Okay, so now we know that it has been upgraded from probable to definite homicide. So now we just got to figure out who the motherfuckers were that killed these two boys. Okay, let's continue on.
Anonymous tips to the telecenter suggested that Kevin and Don were murdered by drug traffickers and that they may have stumbled into the middle of a drug drop. Garrett was later interviewed by Robert Stack. He claimed that there was drug trafficking throughout Bryant and Saline County that was also connected to several other counties and states. He believes that Kevin and Don stumbled on either drug traffickers or a drug lab that manufactured methamphetamine and that they were killed as a result. He believes that others were involved or have knowledge of who was involved. He also suspects that there was some sort of police cover-up involved in the case. However, he was not sure if it was inadvertent or deliberate.
It was deliberate. They killed those boys. Let's see here. Hold on. Where did... Oh, God, I lost the spot. What is... Accidental, or... Let's see. Hold on, I'm still... Okay, here we go. No, they killed those boys. They killed those boys. It was not accident. It was not inadvertent. It was deliberate. Are you telling me that criminals who want to make money, see two boys watching them, make drugs or steal drugs or whatever? They see these two boys and they're like, "Oh, that's okay. You guys go ahead. We trust you." They're like, "No. We're going to fucking kill these guys." And that's what I think happened. I think, and like what Garrett said, these boys came across something. I don't think it was a lab. I think it was like a drug sale, honestly. That's what I think it was. But yeah, no criminal is just going to let somebody watch them do the crime and then just let them go. Nah, not at all. Sorry. Nope. It was all deliberate. It was deliberate.
In late December 1988, the grand jury investigating the case released their final report, stating that the deaths were the result of foul play. However, no indictments were issued regarding the deaths. The grand jury urged authorities to continue investigating the deaths and the drug problem in the county. In March 1990, Kevin and Don's manner of death were officially changed from accidental to homicide.
Okay, now keep in mind, this is all, this changing of the manner of death. This is all like a trickle down effect of the parents demanding that the case be reopened, because if the parents did not force the hand, those kids' death would have been labeled as suicide for the rest of time. But it was because of those parents who were like, "No, my kid did not commit suicide. I know my kid. He would not have committed suicide." Because of that, all of this other stuff has happened. So, like I said, it just takes that one little push to get the whole rock rolling, basically. Like, does that make any sense? Okay. Let's go down to here. Come on.
In 1995, the investigation into Kevin and Don's murders was
Nope. Nope. There you go.
LY closed without their killers captured or identified. Their families have conducted their own investigations and are still hoping that the case can be solved. In 1996, Linda and film producer Patrick Matriciana released the documentary Obstruction of Justice: The Mina Connection, which detailed the botched investigation into the murders. It also looked into an alleged former Saline
Nope.
County
Nope. Nope. We're not going to skip it. Go back up here.
Ed drug ring in Saline County, which ran out of Mina Airport and was covered up by police. The film alleged that Kevin and Don were killed after they accidentally witnessed a clandestine drug deal that involved top state officials. Several people were implicated in this conspiracy, which involved numerous investigations and 2 grand juries. In the documentary, 2 veteran sheriff's deputies, Jay Campbell and Kirk Lane, were alleged to be the killers. It was alleged that they were the officers seen beating the 2 boys in a store parking lot. They denied any involvement in the case and sued Matriciana and his film company for defamation, and the judge awarded them $USD 598, $750. However, Matriciana successfully appealed the verdict, which was overturned in 1999. Former Saline County prosecuting attorney Dan Harmon investigated the case and presented evidence to the grand jury. He later served time in prison on federal drug and racketeering charges. Interestingly, Campbell and Lane were involved in investigating Harmon. They believe that he found out about their investigation and named them as suspects in order to taint their credibility and hinder their investigation into him. Linda at first trusted Harmon, but later came to believe he was involved. An ex-girlfriend of his reportedly told an investigator that Harmon and 2 other men were responsible for the murders. However, he was never charged in the case or officially labeled a suspect. CT. In August 2016, Linda sued the United States over Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, requests. She hoped to force 8 federal agencies and 3 Arkansas-based law enforcement agencies to produce any documents they had about the case. A federal judge later dismissed many of the agencies listed, but ordered 3 of them to turn over the pertinent documents to him. However, Linda and her attorney did not find anything in the documents related to the murders.
Okay, so basically it's like what I was originally saying. It looks like we are dealing with corrupt people, corrupt officials, corrupt police officers. When you shake a tree, you're going to not just get one snake that falls out. You're going to get a bunch of snakes that falls out. It's only a matter of time, like, I like to think that, it may take 10, 20, 30, 40 years, but I would like to think that a lot of these cases can be solved. Okay, let's see here.
DURS. In January 2018, former wrestler Billy Jack Haynes came forward, claiming that he had witnessed Kevin and Don's murders and knew who was responsible. He claimed that he was hired by a corrupt Arkansas politician to provide muscle at an Arkansas drug stop. While there, he allegedly witnessed the murders. However, many do not consider him to be a credible
Source. And let's see here. Let's do a quick look at Billy Jack Haynes, shall we? Let's see here. Okay, Billy Jack Haynes. I can't recall. Let's see here. 2004 personal life. I'm wondering if he had like a criminal, because I thought that he may have had a criminal history. Okay, it just basically talks about a 2024 arrest. Remains custody, expected to be taken related to homicide. He was questioned by police. So it looks like he could have possibly killed somebody. A lady by the name of Jeanette Bigcraft died by gunshot wound. Okay, so let's get back to here. Okay, so they don't view him as a credible source.
Orse. On October 23rd, 2018, Garrett
Oh, well, we're going to continue on.
Garrett passed away at the age of 72. On June 3rd, 2021, Linda passed away at the age of 71. Just a few months later, on August 24th, Kevin's sister, Alicia, passed away at the age of 53.
Okay, hold on. Let's close that out. Okay, I think it may be acting up. Hold on. Come on. Okay, I'm just gonna, give you my thoughts. So sadly, we've lost some of the key players. We lost Garrett. Apparently, Garrett passed away, in 2018. It's kind of sad because you could definitely tell that he wanted this case solved. I do not blame him. He wanted to get that case solved. Sadly, Kevin's sister Alicia died at the age of 53. So, like I said, that's one thing that always gets me. It's like, we only know them at the age of when they die, but you got to remember, how many decades has passed since these boys passed away. Like, they could have been in their, 50s or early 60s even, possibly. It's like, these boys were denied their life and everything. Hold on, I'm going to do this. And then I'm going to do this. Let's see here. Go back to here. See, I have all these cases already on bookmark. So basically all I have to do is just go and pull it up. Okay, go back to here. And now we're going to go all the way down to here. Because, let's see here. Okay, we have Kevin Ives and Don Henry. Oh my God, really? And I was so close. Let's see here. Okay, Kevin Ives and Don Henry at Find a Grave. So I'm going to open this up. I'm going to open this up. And then I'm going to open up the Richard Garrett obituary. I think we're going to start with the Richard Garrett obituary, though. Let's see here. What do we got here? Okay, so here's a picture of Richard Garrett. Let's see if I can zoom in. There you go. 1946 to 2018. He was born for funeral was the Ashby Funeral Home, 108 West Norway in Arkansas, and basically just goes to talks about his the services and everything. You could definitely tell that Richard Garrett, he was one of the good guys. He wanted to get this shit solved, and I do not blame him. No death should go unsolved, and Okay, so we have Don George Henry. He was born September 30th, 1970. So let's go let's do the math here. So 70 to 80, 80 to 90, 90 to 2000, 2000 to 2010, 2010 to 2020. That's 50 years right there. 50 years. He would have been almost 54 years old if he had managed to survive, which is sad. Imagine everything that he could have done growing up, and he was denied that, basically. Date of death was August 23rd, 1987. He was 16 years of age in Bryan County, Arkansas. Burial was at Macedonia Baptist Church Cemetery in Columbia County, Arkansas. See here. So, son of George Henry and his mom. Doesn't say what the mom's name is. Okay, let's take a look at some of the pictures here. Okay, it looks like we have a school photo. God, I wish I had hair like that when I was his age. When I was his age, my hair was already starting to creep up on my forehead. That's why I just cut my hair off now. It's just because up here it's like really fine. You don't really see anything. And then I only got the hair that goes around the side. But I'm basically bald at this point. I wish I had this kid's hair. Holy shit. Okay, so here we have, sadly, his final resting spot. Here's Don and Kevin in better times. Another yearbook photo. This looks like it could be a monument that was erected in their memory. And then, basically a memorial, basically. I'm not sure how parents can do it. I don't have a kid, I do not have a child. My family's basically all but dead. I have a father. I have a stepsister. I have a couple uncles, throughout the country. But, like, the majority of my family's dead. Especially where I live in this area, all my family's dead. So, I have the pain of, knowing that my mom is gone. But I cannot imagine what it would be like as a parent to lose your child. Not only lose your child, but lose your child to violence. I cannot imagine what that is like. And those were the pictures of Don Henry George. Now let's go check out Larry Kevin Ives. Larry Kevin Ives. He was born April 28th, 1970. He passed away he was murdered on August 23rd, 1987. He was 17 years of age. And basically the same location of the murder, so I'm not going to go through that. Burial was at Pinecrest Memorial Park and Golden Mausoleum in Saline County, Arkansas. This is the one thing that's kind of sad. And I understand why the parents did that. For some reason, I'm not sure it's because they were friends, but I always thought it would be appropriate to have them buried near each other because they were friends. They were there, brothers. Basically, they were like brothers to the very end because they even mentioned like where one went, the other followed, if I remember correctly, that they were each other's best friend. That's how, I figured that they would just been buried near each other, but things are not always the way we want, I guess, Okay, let's take a look at some of these pictures here. Okay, we have a picture of Larry Ives. I'm probably going now. The thing about I'm not sure if I can or not. I'm going to see if I can get a better picture and see if I can have it submitted because this one's kind of pixelated. Let's see here. Okay, we got Kevin Ives, little memorial. Here's his resting spot. You'll live in our hearts forever. Okay, this must be a picture of his mom. A yearbook photo. The same memorial that we just saw earlier. You could definitely tell the family really, really cared for their son. And there's the car that they mentioned. They said that they like to work on the car, and there it is. That is a nice car. I'll be honest, that is a nice car. Here's another photo of Larry. Now, why don't they use this as the profile picture? They should use that one. It's not pixelated. And then the photo of those two boys smiling at better times. Must be possibly his mom, sister, and Larry. Okay, everybody. So that was the case of Don Henry and Kevin Larry. Wait, hold on. That was the case of Don Henry and Kevin Ives. I just want to say thank you to Jasmine for helping us as always. I'm going to take a quick break, and when I return, it will be with my final thoughts. So stay tuned, and I will be right back.
We'll be right back with the Fox 54 Sunday noon movie, Monster Squad, starring Andre Gower, after these messages.
Okay, everybody, welcome back. It is now time for the final thought. I hope you all enjoyed this episode. If you did enjoy this episode, please click on that subscribe button, click on the like button, click on that bell, and you'll be alerted when I release another episode of Black Site Files from Unsolved Mysteries. It is never easy for a parent to mourn the loss of a loved one. It's even worse for a parent when their loved one is brutally taken from them. So I can kind of sympathize with the parents. I lost my mother. I actually found her dead. So I can, and to this day it has profoundly affected me. So I can honestly imagine what it's like to lose a loved one. I feel for these parents. And I honestly congratulate these parents for not simply just going into the darkness quietly. They knew that something was not right, and they fought. They fought, and they continued to fight. I congratulate those parents. Those parents did the right thing. They were real parents, I also want to say, Garrett did a good job. He fought to try to get this shit taken care of. Sadly, he passed away. I would like to think that even though the gears may be slow to turn, justice never forgets. It never forgets. It may be slow at times, but it never forgets. But, so I'm hoping that one of these days that the answer to this case will be determined. And I think, honestly, that tarp could have had something, could have led to the killer. But odds are it was probably destroyed shortly after those boys were discovered, basically. But that's about it. Basically all I gotta say is justice denied is justice, or delayed. Justice delayed is justice denied. Let's just keep that in mind. Hopefully that this case will get solved soon. But until next time, I'm gonna let you all go, and I hope you all enjoyed this video. My name is Jeff, aka GCurse, wishing you all a great day. Stay safe, and make sure you give that special somebody a hug, because we never know what can happen within the next minute. Peace out.